Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm James Pendleton, and I'm joined by Ben from Door on Tour. How are we, Ben?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on. I've been looking forward to this game.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm not quite so keen, but that's fine. Great stuff then. So just dive straight in. Obviously, Everton are playing Forest on Sunday. I mean, Everton haven't played at the City Ground in the league for what, 20, maybe 20 years, 22 years, something like
23
that.
years, 23 years.
23 years, yeah. So it's not a fixture I've ever seen in the league. Can't think of any cup games to be fair either. I think when I was at the reverse fixture in must have been end of August, early September when a couple of late goals went in. But I certainly haven't seen us play at the City Ground, I don't think. Obviously Forest are having a pretty good first season back in the league. There's been a lot of talk about them this season. What have your sort of overall thoughts been? Because you must be pleased where you're at right now.
Of course I am. Of course I'm really pleased. We're not in the bottom three. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Um, as you know, it's been a up and down season before the World Cup. We weren't great. Um, I think, like I said, when we played at Goodison Park, I fully thought that we should have got the 3 points because I don't think at that time you lot were very great. But as you know,
Some
in the
things
Premier
never
League,
change.
yeah, exactly. Well, as you know, in the Premier League, it's ruthless. And as you know, Gray, he got that, I think it was 89th, 90th minute goal. And we just looked like Daisy with our defence. And I think I think that game afterwards, like, as you know, the 6 games we lost. But since after the World Cup, we've been, to be fair, we've done much better than after the World Cup. Players have gelled more. And as you know, like I said, we've had so many players that's come in, the 30 players in at the Forest. But listen, I couldn't complain with the position that we're in now. We need to do better away from home. But like I said, I can't complain from the position that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously that's obviously irrelevant for this game. Obviously, the away form hasn't been great. I was looking at that for something I was doing in work the other day, and I saw that obviously I think he'd scored against us, and he'd only scored another couple of goals away from home this season, which obviously isn't ideal. But at the City ground, you've looked really impressive. And obviously, as you say, you're pleased where you're at in the league this season at the minute. You mentioned there that Forest signed a hell of a lot of players. A few of them were linked to Everton, some strongly, some not so much. I'm not sure they will happen, but certainly a couple of players, I think, like Dennis and obviously AU, Everton appear to be interested in. I mean, it is mad because I've never seen a team bring in so many players, and to the point where now, obviously, some of the players who've come in aren't even in the official Premier League squad anymore. What were your thoughts on the recruitment, and how do you think Cooper's managed to do what I thought was going to be impossible? I didn't think there was any chance he could have incorporated this many new players.
As you know, like I said, bringing 30 players in, it's incredible. But at the same time, we had no choice. We had no choice. Like last season, we had 5 loan players, players at contract, players that really wasn't good enough for the Premier League level. So you can say, like I said, some players have been successful, some players have not. I do remember, like I said, all the players that we brought, I think everything were linked with. And I think you wanted Morgan Gibbs White. With those last minute battle with Morgan Gibbs White. And has he been successful for us? Yeah, I think he has. He's getting there. He's getting to the. I know he wasn't playing much with Wolves. He was successful with Sheffield United, but he's come to Forest and he's done well. This player, like I said, we can mention Jesse Lingard. He's not been great at all. And like I said, you mentioned Dennis as well. He was linked with Everton, but he's not. He hasn't been great, if I'm honest. But as I mentioned, we had no choice. And with Cooper, most of them wasn't Cooper signings. As far as fans will know that what players Cooper wanted out, like you mentioned, more Gibbs White, Toffolo as extra, Henderson from Man United. But listen to me, it's been difficult. But I think, like I said, after the World Cup, players bonding, get to know each other. It's slowly getting there. I know that we brought in players in January, like experienced players like Felipe, John Joe Sovi from Newcastle. We needed experienced players. So listen, it'll take time. But in the Premier League, you ain't got enough to have time. But listen, I understand why the rival fans will look at Forest thinking, why we're bringing all these players. But like I said, we had no choice. And listen, time will tell at the end of the season if it worked or not. If Forest stay up in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be fair, obviously you had Spence was there, wasn't he? Garner, obviously Bryce Sammer. I know he wasn't on loan, but he obviously left as well. Keenan Davis, players like that. He had loads of players in on loans. Zinkan Argles, another one that comes to mind. So and the squad did need a bit of a revamp, as you say. And as it is mad because I've got no idea what sort of first 11 you've been going with all season. Because every time I watch Forest, there seems to be a new player there. And to be fair, as well, the squad depth was nowhere near enough, as I think you touched on there. I think below the first 11 that got you promoted, it was pretty much nothing really there, was there?
No, no. Oh, like I said, you mentioned James Garner. I forgot about him. Like I said,
Yeah, I said it
he
away.
was
To be fair,
exactly. But he was. If you look at it, he was successful with Forest. When he I think it was his second spell at Forest, and then when Steve Cooper come in, he he really kicked him his arse basically. And basically, you're a top player, young as well. Like Cooper knows how to deal with young players, and especially like I said, there's a few roles that Garner can play, like the he can play number 6, number 10. But there's reason behind it that he didn't come back to Forest. Maybe in the future he can do. He's gonna play better for Everton, but time will tell. The Championship is it's a different level to the Premier League. Like Premier League, like I said, it's vicious. If I'm honest with you, like I said, you've got to be on your game all the time. But listen, I think with all the players, like I said, we mentioned, like I said, there's so many players I can talk about with Everton and Forest. But listen, it's going to be it's going to be hard for players adjusting to the Premier League. But listen, I believe in Cooper. I believe in Cooper. But as you said, it's difficult to what players that he's gonna play. Because sometimes I'm like, who's he playing now? Who's he playing now? So listen, time will tell.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you mentioned obviously he's got good work with young players. Obviously won the World Cup with was it the 17s or the
Yeah,
18s with England. So obviously Morgan Gibbs White was in that team then. He did a brilliant job at Swansea, and then he produced a miracle really, didn't he? Forest was where under Houghton, and then he came in and he's done unbelievable things. I mean, what are your thoughts on him? Because again, off the top of my head, I could probably rattle off half a dozen Forest managers I could think of who were there and were gone, like a bit like an Everton really, were there for a very short period of time, brought their own players and then they were gone, whereas Cooper's he's done a fantastic job, hasn't he?
what can I say about Steve Cooper? The guys, the thing about it is right, legend gets thrown around too easy in this game in this time, and you can have a little short spell and saying, "Oh, he's a legend after probably 4 or 5 games," but people know the story. Cooper we was bottom of the league, rock bottom, and was playing League One football. The turnaround is dead. Like it's unbelievable, and to be talking about Premier League football, it's unreal. And what the guys do, not just for the city, for the club, and especially for the fans, as you mentioned, the managers, perhaps like you mentioned, Chris Hughton. I don't know why I'm talking about Chris Hughton because he was awful. Um, the other managers, like since we got relegated in Premier League in the 97-98 season, there's a few managers nearly got this Premier League, like we mentioned Paul Hart, Billy Davis. Um, I don't want to talk about Sabah Lamucci because that was just awful.
Last year.
Uh, um, listen, Steve Cooper, he's a legend. And whatever happens with Steve Cooper, we know sometimes it's not going to go his way at all. He's a legend in Nottingham Forest's eyes. And listen, he's gonna do good things and better things, and hopefully better things with Nottingham Forest. Because as you know, like I said, Everton they've had different kind of managers at all left, right, and centre. But listen, Steve Cooper is a legend, and I don't care what anyone says. I think Forest 99.9% Forest fans will say he's a legend, whatever he's done for the club.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to agree. I'd say where you were last season to get you into the Premier League is really, really impressive. And I couldn't believe he left Swansea, to be fair, because he'd gotten them so close to the Premier League and then to go back into the Championship. I think he took a bit of a risk there, but obviously it paid dividends for him. It feels like an absolute lifetime ago that Everton played Forest. I couldn't really believe it was this season, to be fair.
Mm.
So much has gone on since then, not least obviously the World Cup and obviously what we've had both halves of the season really. But what have your sort of thoughts been on Everton this year? Because as I see talk every week with somebody else saying that we have been really poor, and everyone seems to be kind of talking about it because obviously we're right down there at the minute.
When we went to you lot, like I said, I think if I do remember, I went to the game. The first 20 minutes, you lot were good. Like I said, you can tell you're a Premier League footballer and all that. But then I think we changed it a little bit. And after seeing Everton play, I thought to myself, listen to me, if they carry on the way they're playing, they're going to be in the bottom half because you wasn't great at all. And from, like I said, you got the goal in the 90th minute. And from that time till now, I know we know there's been mistakes with on the pitch, off the pitch, and that I wasn't a fan of Frank Lampard. I'm not saying because of the connection with Derby County. Great player, but awful manager. And if you kept Lampard there, you would have been relegated. And that's my opinion. I said to everyone, all podcasters, Lampard is an awful manager. Now you've got someone who knows Premier League, who's experienced in Sean Dyche, a really good friend of mine, Ian Wone, as well, Steve Stone. Listen to me. I personally think we like I said you lost to Arsenal 4-0. But I think that he's going to target teams like Forest, teams below, to get it out of the bottom three. Do I believe that Everton can come out? The players that I've seen, it's going to be difficult. Like Calvert Lewin, like he's a top player, but you're missing him.
Big
McNeil,
star.
yeah, McNeil. Like I said, I know. Like I said, you could talk about James Tarkowski, Dwight McNeil, who played under him. Um, can they kind of players get Everton at the bottom three? You need more than two players. Um, I personally think I don't know. I want Everton to stay up because, like I said, they've got a good fan base. I know you built a new stadium as well. Do Everton fans want to be playing Championship football in the new stadium? They don't. So
Absolutely not.
I personally think like, yeah, it's going to be difficult. Like I said, after if Ben Forest beat Everton on Sunday, I just don't. I want Everton to stay up. I want Everton to stay up, but it's a big ask with the players that you've got. So it's time will tell again.
Yeah, I think everyone I speak to today says that. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but you say we need a couple of players. I'm sure Forest have got a couple spare
You
they
can
could
take
lend us.
you can take the fringe players if you want. That's fine by me. That's fine by me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Obviously you touched on Dyche there, and I know obviously he's got connections to Nottingham, and then obviously Stone and the Rome as well, which is obviously gives
Legend.
Sunday
Ian
an
Warren,
added
legend. I put the
exactly.
Ian Warren legend on there
I
for
was
the
at him,
club.
is it?
Yeah,
I didn't even
yeah, I see.
realise.
And Kevin Campbell, another legend.
Yes, of
Another legend.
course, yes. I had
Yes.
clocked him to be fair.
Yeah.
Very good. Obviously
A
that
good friend of
gives
mine. Good friend of mine as well.
well Rome is.
Yeah, Warren and Kevin Campbell.
Oh, I was speaking to Lee Judges the other day from Arsenal Fan TV, and he's also a big fan of big friend of Kevin Campbell. So
You know, he's a
I don't
crazy
know.
guy. He's a crazy guy, Kevin. Like I
And
said,
what's
he's on my podcast quite a lot.
right?
I meant to do a podcast with Ian Wone, but dude, I don't know. That's a long story with that. But they're both top players of Forest, and it was funny. I tell you about a story about Wone. When he got the job at Everton, I texted him saying, "Congratulations on your new job," and he sent me a thank you door. He sent me a blue heart. How dare will he send me a blue heart? So listen to
Wow.
me. You've got a top guy at your club, and like I said, hopefully you lot stay up because of Ian Wone. That's
Yeah,
all.
well, yeah, to be fair, I did see a Nottingham Forest fan tweet about him and Stone, but I must be doing something wrong by not being mate of Kevin Campbell. That must be where the problems are coming from because everyone else seems to be mate of him. But
Listen, man, get Kevin Campbell if you want Kevin Campbell on your channel. Have you had Kevin Campbell on your channel before?
I think he might have been on the channel, to be fair. I've definitely not spoke to him. If he has been on, I've not been invited, that's for
He's a
certain.
legend. He's absolutely a legend. Easy to
No,
talk to. Easy to
he
talk to.
is.
Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah, lovely guy, lovely guy. Obviously, then moving back to Forest, I think you've probably got a couple of ideas who you might say, but who have been the sort of standout players? Because I think at the start of the season, there was a couple of players who I thought were going to work out. A few I wasn't quite sure on, but who would you say have been the standout players for Forest this year?
Um, we can talk about, like I said, Morgan Gibbs White. Like I said, Everton were after him, and he's been a player that has he's been really good. To be fair, like his first time in the Premier League. Talk about another player that I think Everton were linked with, Brennan Johnson,
Yeah,
another top player as well. Like I said, he's only been playing football for 2 years in at League One, Championship, now Premier League. So these young players have been really good as well. As you know, we brought in Navas as well from PSG. He's been really good to be fair since he's come from PSG.
ridiculous
Um,
signing, yeah,
yeah.
unbelievable.
So, but yeah, I'll say like I said, Monk, Gibbs White, Brennan Johnson. They're the two top players. Uh, I feel like I said before the World Cup, their understanding wasn't. It was good, but it could be better. But at the same time, after the World Cup, them two are just on fire. They know what to do. They know where to the right pass and all that. So listen, they're the two players that I think the Premier League players like Everton, I need to be wary of because they are two good players and they are going to do better things in the future. And like I said, hopefully it's with Forest.
Yeah, I thought, to be fair, I thought they'd be the two you'd pick on. Certainly, Johnson seems to have really found his feet, which I'm pleased with. I mean, I remember watching him when he was on loan at Lincoln. I know they didn't quite get promoted into the Championship, but he was unbelievable that year. And then he was very, very good last season. So I'm pleased he's doing well. You touched on Jesse Lingard earlier. Would you say he's been the most sort of disappointing player this season, or is there anyone else you'd put in front of him, maybe?
Jesse Lingard, like I said, we all know he's a top player, but it just hasn't worked out for him. Two good games. I think that was before the World Cup, and that against Crystal Palace and Spurs. But he just hasn't worked out for him. We know he had a few problems off the pitch as well. We know he had injuries, but it just hasn't worked out for him at all. We know that he's got been around the club. His personality has helped young players, like we mentioned, Brennan and Jesse Lingard, but he hasn't done much at all. And it is a bit disappointing, if I'm honest, with him, like I said, because we was all happy because we mentioned like sorry about James Garner, that number 10 role. It was so important for Nottingham Forest last season. And when Jesse Lingard come in, we thought, yes, fantastic signing who can slot in that number 10 role, but just hasn't worked at all. But I think we've got 10 games left to go. I think it is 14 games to go.
Something like
But
that, yeah.
hopefully he does a bit part and just keep Forest in the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think to be fair, I was surprised he went to Forest because I thought he looked nailed on to go to West Ham, didn't he? But I
Poor
think,
West Ham, poor West Ham. Oh,
yeah,
still crying over it. But listen,
yeah,
we wanted them more. We can mention about the money, blah blah blah. But listen, he come to Forest. It hasn't worked well. But we only thing we can do is judge him by the end of the season to see if it's good or bad. So things might turn, but we never know.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, so you mentioned Johnson and Gibbs White as a couple of standout players of Forest. Is there anyone that you're particularly worried about in the Everton ranks? I know certainly going forward we are quite weak, but is there anyone that you're a little bit concerned of for Sunday?
Uh, like I said, the players I am worried about is the wingers, Alex Anobi and Dwight McNeil, both wingers. The business level before. I'm more happy because, like I said, you've not got Cameron Lewin on your side because, like I said, we know what Dwight McNeil can do. He's done it in the past with Burnley. He can cross the ball in, and they're the two players that I am more wary about because we know that ex-Liverpool player Nico Williams hasn't been great at all. Loddy again as well, he's not been great. So if Everton tap them two players, it could be like a bit more of a feisty game. But listen, I think the two wingers are more would be wary. We know you got more of a experienced centre back in Cody and James Tarkowski as well, if I said
Mhm.
pronounce his name properly.
Yeah,
Um, Good experienced centre backs. So we listen to me. We've got to be on a game. We know we got Jordan Pickford as well as an experienced goalkeeper. Like he signed a new contract for you lot. But listen, I'm always it's the battle of I think it's going to be battle of the midfield. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough. But listen, I think Forest will be up for this because, like I said, you lost 4-0. You're gonna be really angry and try and get a decent result against us. But listen, it's going to be a battle Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I say, I think we're very poor away from home. Forest are quite good at home, so it's one of them where I think the form book may dictate how it goes. We touched on obviously Forest have just signed a lot of players, and to the point where I don't really know what their best 11 is. What do you kind of predict the lineup to be? Because I think obviously the likes of Navas, Johnson, Gibbs White, they'll probably play. I think at centre back you're a bit short, so probably be what Worrell and Felipe maybe. Do you think or?
Well, it seems like it is, but another player that was signed, Nakate,
Yeah,
he he's been training a lot.
been coming back.
Maybe
Yeah.
yeah, maybe he might be on the bench, top player, but like I said he's not playing at all. So
Yeah.
he might be playing. I think, like I said, I think Nico Williams and Loddy will play in defence with Worrell and Felipe. The problem is, like I said, we don't know what midfield is going to be. He can chop and change all over the place. Maybe John Saving will definitely start. Rime Fulia, Mangala, Scarpa. Listen, I can't tell what midfield is going to be.
Who was that last
Uh,
player? Sorry.
Scarpa, the Brazilian little player, he can play in that role as well. I know we brought him on a free transfer
I
from
have no idea who you're talking about.
yeah, he brought another player that brought him Dinalo as well. He come from Palmeiras as well,
Was he the
Brazilian.
fellow the blonde there?
Yes, yes.
All right, that's what I thought
Uh,
you were talking about before, but I've no idea who that
no,
Scarpa
no,
fella is.
no, but you got Scarpa as well. He come from Palmeiras, free transfer. So listen,
Wow,
that's
must have
what
missed
I'm
that
trying to
one.
tell you. Listen, I said we don't know what midfielders are going to play. But for second players, we could, like I said, we mentioned Brendan Johnson, Morgan Gibbs White, uh, Chris Wood might play. Scarpa again, another player that could play in that front three. Sam Sturridge, another. I think he's the best finisher at the club, but he doesn't play. Listen, we got. I can reel off so many players that can start on Sunday. So we don't know who's going to play. So listen, Cooper's got a headache, but it's a good headache to have for Steve.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't believe I've literally never heard of that bloke. That's quite funny.
Oh, watch out! I think he got Brazilian Player of the Year end of
Oh,
the Brazilian,
really?
yeah, at the end of Brazilian season last season. So
Okay.
that might help you a lot.
I'll have to do some research after this. Very good. Then we'll just finish off the last couple of questions. Then overall, what do you think will be your score prediction? I think when I spoke to, let's say Lee the other day about, sorry, not Lee, when I spoke to Neil from the Aston Villa podcast last week, we both said we think it'll be whatever the score is. I think there'll be a nil involved, whether it's 0-0, 1-0, 0-1. That's kind of how I see this game going. I think that only one team's going to end up scoring. What do you reckon?
This is going to be a tough game. We've got a fantastic home record. Everton have not got a good away record at all. But
Right.
listen, and this is the thing where, and as you know, Sean Dyche said here wearing the half season tickets at City Ground.
Yeah.
So Dyche, he'll know Steve Cooper inside out on the way they play City Ground. So listen, that's Sean Dyche's advantage of playing against Forest at City Ground. So I don't think it'll be high scoring. I think Forest will win at least two. I'll say 2-1. I'll say 2-1 Forest because, like I said, you can't write off Everton because, like I said, lost 4-0. They want to get some anger out of someone. I hope it's not Forest. Well, but listen, it's gonna be a tough game, but I'm gonna put my neck on the line and say Forest will win 2-1.
I mean, I'm quite happy we've scored. To be fair, that'll be nice to see. To be fair, so don't mind that too much. Very good. As we spoke to, as we spoke to Lee on Wednesday, we're asking everyone who do we think is going to win the league. I know it doesn't really concern either of us, unfortunately, but what do you think is going to be the end result there? Because I mean, Arsenal, I think we've frustrated Arsenal for sort of 95% of the first half, but other than that, I thought they were pretty irresistible. To be fair, they look very good.
I personally think I want Arsenal to win the league. like I said, we all know what Man City they can. They've got so many players there. So me personally, um, Arsenal, Man U are doing a really late charge. You never know,
Mhm.
Man City and Arsenal, Man City and Arsenal might slip up. But listen, I want Arsenal to win the league. Um, I think
Something a
I've
bit
got
different.
yeah, I've got loads of good mates. I've got mates like who are Arsenal fans, and so, like I said, every time I see the Arsenal result, I laugh. But at the same time, I want Arsenal to yeah, just keep my friends happy for a change, and maybe Arsenal win, and make sure. And like I said, ex Everton and Forest player Kevin Campbell, who played for Arsenal.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Sports Arsenal, I think, doesn't he?
yeah, yeah, it's what's Arsenal. So listen, if Arsenal win the league, then maybe yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Very good. Nice one then, Ben. Just to finish off then, we always finish on a random question. What would you say has been your favourite encounter of any former Forest players or managers? Obviously, I'm sure you've got some good stories about Worm and Campbell, as you mentioned, but any favourite anecdotes that come out to you?
I'm gonna say what playing football.
Oh, just like if you've met anyone or you bumped into anyone or
I
from
met, let's say,
Forest past.
I mentioned with Kevin Campbell last season. He come to Nottingham for 3 days, and it was a pleasure. It was like a stag do, like coming with Kevin Campbell and meeting him. It was amazing. I met, like I said, on the third day, I met Ian Wayne for the first time. He's my idol, Forest idol, and
Yeah.
I had like a special do with Ian Wayne and Kevin Campbell, and we're on the table, and I'm thinking to myself, listen, two of my idols are on this table, and we have a laugh and joke. We always take the mick out of Ian Wayne's dancing when he scored a goal for Forest as well. But listen to me, being around Kevin Campbell, Ian Wayne, I was starstruck because these are idols in the '90s for me.
Yeah.
So listen, Kevin will take the mick out of me with my club. I'll take the mick out of him with a few things. But listen, top players, Ian Wayne and Kevin. But like I said, just being around him for 3 days was it was a dream come true for me. And like I said, Kevin's like a friend to me. Like you see, it's amazing to call him a friend. But listen, Ian Wern and Kevin, I think that's my story of being around them two.
Excellent. Excellent. I say when I spoke to Lee the other day as well, his story was about Kevin Campbell. So I absolutely love that. Good stuff.
Yeah, legend.
Nice one for that then, Ben. Obviously, we'll see how we both get on Sunday. And obviously, hopefully, at least at the end of the season, if maybe we both can't be happy on Sunday, we can at least be happy at the end of the season, eh? Nice one
Exactly.
for
Just
on.
that's all it matters. Just stay out the bottom three. Premier League football next season. And like I said, everything can stay up. And because like I said, you've got the new stadium, and I want to go to the new stadium if you don't stay up. But yeah, time will tell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nice one for that, Ben. So make sure anyone who's watched, make sure you drop us a like, subscribe, check out Ben's channel as well, and make sure you let us know what you think's going to happen on Sunday. That's all. Thanks for listening to Topic Blues. Thank you.